What's up, gamers? DreamcastGuy here, coming at you today with another episode of Does It Suck? The show where we take a deep dive look at a new game and see what's good or bad about it. This time around, we're going to be ripping into Need for Speed Heat, the latest project by Electronic Arts. Now, most of us, when we think of things that are being created by EA, we immediately picture things like microtransactions, loot crates, or really bad bundles that are not worth the buck. But this time around, I'm very shocked to say that right at the beginning here, this is a very fun game. Not only is it fun, and not only is it very exciting, but it's a good deal. This has pretty much no microtransactions that I was able to find. Even after hours and hours of playing this over the last couple days, I didn't see any in-game store, there's no season pass, there's no way that this game can really rip you off. And since it has over 120 cars in it and tons of different tracks, it seems like this is finally an Electronic Arts game that isn't completely evil. Now, before we get into all that, I do want to say this isn't fully perfect. There is some problems in this that I do hope are patched because they're small but quite annoying. Now, let's start off by talking about what Need for Speed Heat is. This racing game takes place in a fictionalized version of Miami, Florida, with nice sunny beaches and lots of clean streets and lots of places for you to nicely drift around. But what's really unique about this city isn't just the fact that it's beautiful, it's the fact that pretty much everybody only cares about one thing, which is respect. Making sure you're out there, paying your dues, and making sure you really are the best on the track, that way you can earn your way into the higher brackets. In this city, what matters most isn't getting rich, it's not just conquering everybody else, it's really just being out there and proving yourself one day at a time. Now, this is actually done in a very specific way. When it comes to the daytime, pretty much everybody is trying to be a law-abiding citizen. Yeah, you might accidentally run a red light or hit an electrical pole, but eventually you're doing your very, very best to try and not get in trouble. In fact, all of the street races that you participate in during the daytime hours are completely sanctioned. This is when you get some real cash. By competing in these legal street races on actual tracks and real direct courses, you get a chance to really build up your bank account. Also, because it is the daytime, you can go to different stores, actually going to garages to purchase upgrades, get all sorts of customization for your vehicle to tinker and tune it, or even go to car dealerships and buy a completely new ride. But when the sun goes down and the moon comes up, this is when night falls and things get incredibly intense, because here, well, all the rules are gone. People shouldn't even be out, and yet you're here trying to burn up the track. Nighttime races are very, very different because here people aren't competing for money. Instead, they're competing for reputation. Respect points are what you're actually earning out here during the nighttime hours, and the point of this is to build up your reputation level. The more respected you are, the more you're going to unlock special things. Basically, more races, more special events, the next main story chapters, and of course, more chances to really get out there and upgrade your vehicle. Now, that may sound like something that you could just do in your sleep because it is so easy, but there is a very fundamental difference between nighttime racing and daytime racing, which is that during the day, because you are on a track and there are rules, it's pretty straightforward. Honestly, people are kind of respectful and nice and polite. At night, these street racers are complete animals. They will slam you off the track, they will throw you into the mud, and what's interesting is, even after a race ends, the challenge doesn't actually conclude, because after you cross the finish line, you may have earned their respect, but you don't stop, there's no loading screen. Instead, this is where the hard part begins. The respect you gain is not just a matter of beating people on the track or conquering every corner, it also comes down to being able to best the police. At night, there are cops everywhere, and these dudes are all in souped up muscle cars that can easily go 150 miles an hour. If these guys spot you and they arrest you, it will take away your entire night's reputation. But there's actually a good reward if you're willing to risk it. The more races you win in a row in a single night can build up a multiplier to make it where instead of getting 2,000 reputation, perhaps you get 3,000 or 4,000. Keep going enough and beat enough people on the track, maybe maybe you can get 6,000 or 10,000 bonus reputation in a single night, making it where you can power level yourself if you're willing to run the risk. However, you need to keep in mind that the more you're doing good, the more you have to worry about the bad, which is that these cops get pissed. You will actually upgrade your heat level and you'll be an even more prime target. If the cops spot you, it is possible to evade them and get back to a safe house and turn in all of your respect, but of course, that's going to end this night's earning, thus resetting your multiplier. All of these systems are very, very fun. I like trying to upgrade things, and I like the fact that your vehicle almost feels like a personal weapon. It's your tank. It is your own little haven. Like, I'll be honest, I named my car. Like, there's no way to do it in the game, but I've started calling my vehicle Patches. I like to treat it like it's this special zombie mummy, and then I'm out here just being the undead badass of the night, sucking everybody's reputation dry. Because when I'm out here, and I'm really getting a feel for that finesse, and really managing to do every drift right, it feels good to do good. But that does bring me to something that definitely is, I think, going to be the most divisive with Need for Speed Heat. This game is definitely a little bit fake. Now, what I mean by that is, of course, this is a video game, and it's kind of an arcadey video game, but the way that the physics work is very, very peculiar with specifically the momentum. Basically, your car is almost like a propelled jet missile. As long as you are aiming in a particular direction, you will go in that direction, which means that a lot of times when you're on a track, it's not about decelerating or properly using your e-brake or anything that exists in other racing games. Instead, you can pretty much just drift through every single corner at hundreds of miles an hour. Now, this is something that's fun when you get used to it, but honestly, for the first 3 or 4 hours, I lost a lot of races just because I could not get a handle on that drifting until I managed to just force myself. I mean, until I just went out there and did races again and again, timed my brakes, timed when I let off the gas, and really kind of figured it all out. Then it was very, very fluid. But it's one of those games that has a steep learning curve because it is so uniquely fake. It is a little bit bizarre to be going through like these dark streets at 150 miles an hour, zigging and zagging, and be pretty much unstoppable. Because really, when you get up to speed, you can literally ram through walls. You can ram through other people. You are just like a freaking missile, like I said earlier, which is weird just because it is so different. It doesn't really have a skill set that can be carried over from any other racing game, not even from other Need for Speeds. It is very, very standalone, which at times definitely kind of hurts because you do need to try and just rewrite everything you think you know about racing games and put in these cartoony physics instead. Additionally, this does bring me to what I consider to be by far the biggest flaw, which is that at times this game has difficulty spikes that are just so unamusing, where for the most part, the game is rather lenient on what it considers difficulty. As long as you're doing decent in your different tracks, first, second, third, and fourth, they all get a cash prize. Or if you're racing at night, you can get a decent amount of reputation even if you're not doing super, super perfect. And the reason for this is that it makes it where you get a chance to level up and upgrade your vehicle as long as you keep practicing. But the problem is, during the story missions, a lot of them require that you come in first, which makes it where if you even make the tiniest of mistakes, you might as well reset, which sometimes leads to you having to do a singular mission 20 times in a row, back to back to back, just so that you can actually progress. And to me, this does seem like a little bit of a detriment. It seems like the game randomly just tries to stomp on the brakes and kills the pacing, all because it's trying to make a point about who's the biggest badass on the track. It's not a huge flaw because honestly there isn't that many story missions, but I still found them to be very, very detrimental to the overall rhythm that the game manages to establish. Overall, I had a very good time with Need for Speed Heat, which still sounds so weird even coming out of my mouth because really I didn't expect much from this. Okay, so we've heard some good and some bad, but let's go to the ratings board and put a big number on it. I am giving Need for Speed Heat an 8.5 out of 10. If you're somebody who's really into racing games and is looking for that next big challenge, I would say that this one is certainly worth your time. But I do want to say, don't purchase this yet. In a couple weeks, we're having Black Friday here in America, and already a lot of the Black Friday deals are leaking, and it looks like this game is going to be about $20 cheaper. So if you can get this game for 40 bucks instead of 60 bucks, definitely do it. But I will say that personally, I would say that I consider this worth 60, but if I could save you guys money, that's always a big bonus to me. Thanks so much for watching, gamers. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, share with your friends, and subscribe if you haven't already. But do me the biggest favor of all and keep dreaming. Thanks so much for watching that video. If you want to see something else, you can always click this link to see what I put up last, or, subscribe and see what's coming up next. Also, I promise that whatever I do, it'll try not to suck.